All right, we're here with Hemal Patel. Thank you so much, Hemal, for
seeing you again.
yeah,
And great.
yeah. You've been enjoying this seminar.
I have been.
You've been incredible, and all of the insights and scientific discoveries and research that you're doing is breakthrough. This has been just, from the top longevity experts that are here to speak, they said this has been the best longevity event they've been to, and they've all been raving about you. So we're super grateful for you. So I would love to, I'd love for you to share a little bit about your background before you got into this space.
Yep.
And how skeptical you were about it. You told me this story over dinner one night, and I loved it. But I would just love for the listener to hear about it.
So, I grew up as a Hindu, right? So this is part of my culture and upbringing and things like that, but I never really practiced. And so I had this concept that there was something bigger than myself that existed, but couldn't actually name it as God or something like that. And so when I went to college, you start exploring aspects of stuff that you never really did. And so I grew up in a suburb of Chicago, which was vanilla white. And so I was the only brown in that white vanilla area. And so I assimilated. And so a way to do that was to suppress everything about who and what I was.
Mm-hmm.
So when I went to college, I really started exploring. And so I met my wife in high school, so we've known each other forever.
Right.
And she was raised a Catholic, and I knew nothing about Western theology. So as an Indian, you had two choices. You either become a doctor or a lawyer, and you have to become the right kind of doctor, right? You have to have the MD behind your name.
Right.
And so that was the path that was set in front of me. And so I went to college, majored in biology, and I went to a liberal arts college, so you had to dabble in areas completely outside of biology. And so I took an intro to philosophy class. I was hooked and blown away. And so I ended up double majoring in philosophy of religion and biology. And in the philosophy of religion, I really gravitated towards aspects of Western and Eastern theology. And so two Germans have shaped my Eastern and Western theology. One was a German that went to India for 10 years and became a Hindu. Mm-hmm. And he teaches all of the Eastern religions. He became my guru, right? I explored my Hinduism through him. Went to his house. He taught me how to breathe and do yoga and things like that. And he whispered a mantra into my ear. This was the only time it's ever been uttered. And he and I shared this cosmic bond.
Wow.
I meditated, and I was sure I was levitating at some level in college, right? And I could get by on 3 hours of sleep by meditating.
Wow.
And then the other German was a local pastor at the Lutheran church, but a true theologian, right? He trained in Germany, got his theology degree, spoke 7 languages, all of the original biblical languages. So Aramaic, Hebrew, Greek. He knew how to read the original text. He taught me all about Western theology. I probably read the Bible in his classes probably three or four times through in college.
Amazing.
Old Testament to New Testament, back and forth. But what missed that entire time was this concept of faith in God, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so this has been the arc of where I was and where I've headed now is I went through a transition in my life where I realized that maybe there is some name you can give to that higher power and source that exists. My mom died at a very young age, and she was a spiritual center in my life. And so then as a kid who grew up with that, you start questioning everything. Why am I here? Why is she not? And all these things. And I had a series of crazy, weird dreams that led me to the Christian church. And I converted, and it's been an interesting arc to go from this sort of exploratory Hindu that really wasn't practicing and living in this superstitious world to now having this deep faith where there is this relationship, right, that exists.
Yes.
And I think the work with Joe has just expanded that, this idea that you can connect with that source, right? Mm-hmm. People call it lots of things. And for me, it is this pure light that you're connecting to. One of the things that he and I joke about is he always talks about going into the void and this darkness that is I'm like, dude, every time I close my eyes when I meditate, I just see light.
Yeah.
Right. And I think it's the light of Christ, and that has the same transformative power as dark.
Right. That's incredible. That's absolutely incredible. And that's literally how, when I do my meditations, I see, Jesus coming to me, and it's like this light that it overtakes me. And it's honestly some of the most beautiful meditations. And I just afterwards just want to love, serve people, create better, things in the world. And your confidence goes up because, when you're connected to source, when you're connected to Christ, there's that powerful inner confidence that you can't get just by reading affirmations,
Yeah.
So that's beautiful. And, your and for those that don't know, Hemal is a researcher. He's a PhD that went and started studying Joe Dispenza's meditation retreats. And these are, a few $1,000s to go to. They sell out in 10 minutes. There's thousands of people that go to them. And, you were skeptical at first. You went as kind of a skeptic, but you heard all these people, reversing breast cancer, reversing fibromyalgia, Parkinson's. And you're like, what is going on with this whole thing?
Yeah.
And now you're literally the lead researcher in the world getting biometric data, blood data, stool samples before, after, and you are looking at the biological changes in the mitochondria, in the physiology of the human body. And you as a scientist are dumbfounded with the results, right?
Yeah.
So share a little bit about.
Yeah. So, I mean, I didn't get to that skepticism question, but right, I had this arc of really being on the periphery and now having this faith background. And so there is that healthy skepticism I had through my sort of faith journey. And as a scientist, I've been able to use that to apply to crazy things I do. I think one of the things that's taught me is to have an open mind, right? As a scientist, lots of scientists are closed-minded because they have this belief structure that this is how it has to be. And if it's not, then it's wrong, right?
Right.
And my belief structure is completely different. If it's not how the experiment comes out, I just either haven't done the right experiment, or maybe I did do the right experiment and this is how it actually is. And so you have to change your mindset around that. And so I approached Joe's world in the same way. I said, I'm going to come in and I may validate what you're saying, but I may completely disprove what you're saying, and you have to be good with it. And I was, right? And he had, people who are at the top of their level and field have this undying belief, feeling, insight that they know that what they're doing is correct, right? And Joe has this. And the data we've shown over the last couple of years is starting to support that effort, and that mindset that he had. And as a scientist, I think in this realm as well, there's things I come up with in my brain that are in this unbelievable state that someone actually has to have faith to believe that exists. And usually it's me, right? And then I do the reasonable experiments that lead us into that space where it's no longer faith and it's actual reality. This is the mindset I think that I've approached his work and other work that we do at different levels, right? Even the basic protein kinds of things we do in the lab. I have far out ideas that no one as a scientist would believe, but we do the experiments and they come out. Same thing with the bio world. And so I think that's one of the things that I think people who are scientists of faith have, is this ability to think way outside the box because they have a structure that allows them to do this, right?
Wow, that's incredible. So what are some of the ahas or takeaways that if you were to say, this is what you should be doing every day, based off of your research and what you're seeing, that has a massive impact on your longevity, your overall happiness? Obviously you and I are people of faith, obviously become connected to God. For us, it's been developing a relationship with Jesus and God. But beyond that, from a scientific kind of practical perspective, what would you say?
Yeah, so it's interesting looking at a dynamic of a Joe Dispenza event, right? Like you mentioned, there's thousands of people that come to this. And at the beginning of the week, you see disjointed human beings, right? They're angry, they've just traveled, they're hungry, they don't want to wait lines. They're screaming at the research team because we're poking and prodding them and we're trying to get access to data. And then they go through this experience and there is this collective nature that forms. So the individual now sitting around all these people starts to form these unique relationships, and we can force these in unique ways, like in the pair study where we have young and old people sit together and interact, but it naturally happens. And by the mid to end of the week, you're in this, and you can't explain it, right? Everyone's in love with everyone. And the hotel staff notices this. The level of anger and tone has gone down, and people actually realize how horrible they were, and they'll go and apologize to people, right? So it's this realization that when we connect, all of the pressures of the world go away.
Wow.
And this is such a hard thing to do. I mean, you and I have this. We have families. And one of the things my wife and I struggle with is I travel a lot. And so I don't get to connect with the people that I truly am always with.
Yeah.
And it seems stupid, silly to me that I should just not travel as much and just hang out with them. And so that's sort of a thing that I think everyone has to struggle with.
Yeah.
Is how do you find your tribe of people to interact with? Your friends, your family, your acquaintances, your coworkers, and how do you create that community relationship where now you're thriving and working in a place where you actually want to work? One of the things that I learned very early from my mentors is work should not be work.
Yeah.
Right? You have to go somewhere and do something that you truly enjoy doing. And you're not looking for a work-life balance because it is completely balanced because this is what you were meant to do.
I love
and what you want to do.
I asked you, like, what's most exciting that you're working on right now? One of the first questions, and you said everything. You're like, everything is so exciting.
It's just, I can't stop my mind, right? I go into work and we have such amazing people in the lab. I interact with them in different stages, and someone will discover something like, you got to come see this in my office. I drop everything, go see it. It's just an amazing space to be in, to interact with these individuals. And in the Joe world, it's the things that we're discovering I never thought, right?
Yeah,
that are possible. Everything we look at and everything we dream up comes out to have these crazy astronomical findings, which is great.
Last question. This has been such a great interview. What is a protocol? If you could say, hey, this is what we're learning around meditation. If you can just do this around meditation, what would it look like?
I think the first thing, and Joe describes this, right? How do you describe the taste of a mango to someone who's never had a mango?
Right.
You can try, you can talk about the acidity, the sweetness, and at the end of the day, you're like, here's the mango. See, freaking mango. That's how you describe the taste.
Yeah.
So a lot of people talk about meditation and these things, and a lot of detractors talk and sort of they talk down to these events. They've never been to the event, so they don't know what the experience is.
Right.
And you have to go, I think if you're going to go into this space and in this particular form of practice, is you have to go and experience a week long, and you have to experience it the correct kind of way. Turn off your cell phone, have no meeting scheduled, and check out of your life for a week and learn and teach your brain how to actually meditate.
Yeah.
And then you go away from that and you can recreate that over and over again. It doesn't take you a week to do it once you leave, but it takes you about a week to learn how to do it. Well, then now I do it, he has these amazing 15-minute generating different abundance, generosity, and all these kinds of meditations. In 15 minutes, my brain goes somewhere crazy. And I'm back, and you're into your space, and the day's way better after that.
Thank you so much. This has been so great. Thank you.